And I am super excited to welcome you all. Thank you so much for registering and attending this webinar. It's my great pleasure to welcome three wonderful gentlemen on the online dais today. Mr. Nishant Arya, Vice Chairman, JBM Group. Mr. Saurabh Anand, Global Head Digital Transformation from Tata Technologies. And Mr. P Selvam, Senior Advisor and Mentor to T-Hub. I would like to welcome all the gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shankar, for having all of us. And hello, everyone, and a very warm good afternoon to every one of you who's joined us on this afternoon for this interesting topic on EV mobility. And with me, I have two really distinguished panelists today to have a conversation on the electrical vehicles and its future in the Indian context. I'm sure you are going to enjoy this conversation in the next 1 hour or so. And I'll take a couple of minutes to kind of introduce our panelists to you, all of you, and we will get on with the session. First and foremost, very warm welcome to both of you gentlemen, Mr. Nishant and Mr. Saurabh. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and welcome to the webinar from T-Hub.
To be here.
Thank you. So, I'll take this opportunity to also introduce Mr. Nishant Arya. Nishant has been, vice chairman, is the vice chairman of JBM Group, and it's one of the largest Indian conglomerate with over $2.2 billion. And Nishant is an alumni of London School of Economics and from Bradford, UK. He's been in the group with the JBM Group, since 2010, and has kind of spearheaded a significant amount of initiatives, including the EV charging, EV buses, and the electrical vehicles category for the group. Along with the other domains that he has really driven in the group are, the renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and definitely, very, very illustrious career, Nishant. Thank you for joining us today. The next speaker, and equally eminent, Mr. Saurabh Anand, is Global Head of Digital Transformation from Tata Technologies. We have heard of Tata Group in multiple domains, and Tata Technologies probably not a very well heard of consumer company, but I'm sure is the backbone of the group in terms of technology piece. Mr. Saurabh has been with the group for more than a decade, so probably 13 years with the group now, and he's also been instrumental in developing extremely innovative solutions in the EV space and manufacturing, and also been part of the Smart Nation initiative or the Smart Cities initiative of the Government of India. And other domains of his expertise include aerospace and manufacturing. So thank you, Mr. Saurabh and Nishant. Very warm welcome to both of you. And what I would like to outline is probably for the benefit of our listeners today. So I will open up this session. I'll probably give a minute and a half kind of a context, and then we will open up this. I will request you to present your thoughts on the topic for the first 8 to 10 minutes individually. And then we can have a conversation based on your thoughts, and then eventually we will move to a Q&A session. If that's okay with both of you.
I think that sounds good.
Thank you so much. So I mean,
yes. Before doing this, I'll just like to introduce Mr. Selvam to all of you, and thank you for the quick introduction, PS, for Saurabh and Anand. But to all the attendees to who doesn't know Mr. P Selvam, so P Selvam is our senior advisor and mentor to T-Hub. He's also the CEO of Stakeholder Management Consulting, founder, Intellect Insights, advisor to Niti Aayog, Stanford Consultants. With over 19 years of understanding of stakeholders in the business, such as customers, employees, and markets, by providing insights to organization development through market research, branding, communication strategy, new product development, and for a wide range of category. He has been instrumental in all those areas. And to add on to that, Mr. Selvam also happens to be a passionate traveler, logging in more than 60 cities, towns, and villages in the country and abroad. Thank you, Mr. Selvam, for the show. And over to you. You can take it forward.
Thank you, Shankar. Thank you for the kind introduction. So I think, I think at an overall level, I've been reading reports and I've been hearing I'm also passionate, I'm an automobile enthusiast. So this space is very naturally interesting to me, and we are all excited about how the future of automobile is going to be in the electrical vehicles, and not only just electrical vehicles or in the commuting space, but electrical vehicles in the performance piece. So a lot of excitement is around the electrical vehicles that are there happening. While India is still, to my mind, is at a very nascent stage. So we have probably very limited options to customers today, but as we speak, more and more brands and more automobile manufacturers are entering into the category and trying to make a impact in the space, right? And to my mind, there are two. I mean, in the two-wheeler segment, there has been a far more higher impact and the higher, in terms of adapt, not only in terms of the options that are available to the consumers, but also in terms of adaptability. In the two-wheeler space has been much higher, as given in recent times, big brands like Ola Electric are setting up shops in manufacturing facility and Ather, and some of the brands are really spearheading the EV space in the two-wheeler segment. In the four-wheeler segment as well, there has been quite a bit of action, but still a long way to go is what my understanding is, but still, I'm sure as a ecosystem, we are all kind of gearing up for far more wide-reaching electrical vehicle, adaptation in the country. Right. So I think there is a lot of potential. There is a lot of challenges, but I think the only way to go forward is to, in the interest of planet, in the interest of green energy and sustainability. I think it's a very important move towards the electrical vehicles. So indeed, it's a very interesting topic. So what we will do is, without spending much time, I'll keep adding data and snippets as we go by. So I would like to invite Mr. Saurabh of Tata Technologies to kind of share his views on the current landscape of electrical vehicles and electrical EV mobility in the country, and then and followed by Nishant, and then we will move from there. Mr. Saurabh.
Yeah, Mr. Selvam. So first of all, good afternoon to everyone, and good day. And thanks for introduction. And I'm pleased and very happy and excited to talk with Nishant and you, Selvan. And it's a very interesting journey whenever we talk about that, the way the entire industry is changing in terms of maybe the driver is electrification, but we have to look from the different perspective. And today, I think a little bit about Tata Technology. Even in Tata Group, we are not large enough that everybody knows us, but we are, you can say, sharp and focused enough on very specific manufacturing industry. So we know that what we have to do, and our mission, goal, vision, and purpose is to make the better product and help those companies who is manufacturing product in the market. And that's the reason we are very committed and focused in product development, new product launches, and digital transformation, business transformation for automotive, aerospace, and heavy machinery company. And and very specific. EV was again I would say we were quite fortunate in that even when we were not even knowing that what the new disruption and wave coming in industry, from that time we started working with some of our customer And I would say we learned a lot, like whether it's about electrification or just replacing the some fuel that runs the our vehicles, or some this is just an opportunity. So with your permission, I would like to share a couple of slides and just to bring perspective and how exciting this area, so that that we are even not even able to recognize that last 4 or 5 years, actually in and around 2015, we have started deeply working on this and how that flies. And even the entire lockdown period, the way and the amount and momentum we are getting into this. So it's really, really pleasing and very exciting to get into this.
Please, we would be more than happy to hear you, Mr. Saurabh. Shankar, if you can facilitate the screen sharing, please.
Yeah, I can share. So Shankar, can you see my screen?
Yes, Mr. Saurabh, we can.
And you can see the full presentation view, not the.
Not now, not now.
Oh, okay. Previously, well, let me. Now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
So would like to start, in first time when I think the first interaction and first the confrontation with such customer who was having dream to change the overall landscape of automotive. When we were talking with the founder, and hardly that time they were about 30-40 people. So they were talking about, it's not about the car, it's not about the vehicle and something they are going to do in automotive industry. Their problem statement was that they are going to be a user company. That means it's all about how they can serve the new generation user, their requirements, their expectation, and the each and everything and around that the individual user or person or the new generation that is coming, it's changing. So when we see, and even if you can see, when we talk about the customer experience, customer life cycle, lifestyle, and customer value, these maybe for all of us, we might seem that, yeah, it's a English terminology and word, and everyone knows that these are the things. But first time when we met with the founder, we realized that they have taken these three words and eventually customer centricity as a religion. And they decided that they are going to build a product which is not anything focused on the product, but the focus is the user. So how to be a user focused company, how to bring joy in their consumer community, and being a customer centricity. So when, and you will throughout the couple of slides, you will see it's all about the different perspective that we look at the market, and then you will see the tremendous opportunity of innovation, creativity, and the emerging business and disruption, everything that is happening on. So when we get into the detail, so right from the first, we were not talking about how to develop a car that will run on battery, but we were talking about how we can enhance and we can think about a new buying experience, how we can think about a driving experience from cold machine to emotional companion. And that you can see it's not about the electrification, that's the basis, the fundamentals. But if electrification is coming in the picture, then what can be done by taking that and as an opportunity? So how to bring artificial intelligence, how to bring these emotional quotient that should generate the empathy with the user and the product, and then the service, how to transform the entire service mechanism that is happening from a machine getting repaired, maintained by a mechanic, and you can say, oh, legacy way of handling the dealership and all those things. So how to provide a seamless experience of these things to user. So you can imagine your perspective and the ideation will start coming up when we start thinking in this way, that if we take this opportunity, then what we can do. Going further, so how engineering can bring to further delight those experiences. So we talk about when electrification happens, we need to have a battery, and then whole bunch of problems, infrastructure, and all this comes there. In that problems, they started thinking about how to launch something charge anywhere. That means imagine you are having an electric vehicle, but you are not bothering about when to charge, how to charge, where to charge, what will happen if something get my battery get drained out, and then how to keep track, record, and maintain your vehicle remotely. So remote diagnostic and hyper personalization. That means it's not about the car that you are going to buy, which is launched by some company. It's all about what you need, which comes as a form of car, but it will be your product. It is your hyper personalized, so that you should not treat as a things that you possess, but it is a part of your family, a part of your life. And that sentiments bring in, even in 2015, I'm talking about from those era. Even before that, I used to treat myself as a very passionate. Yes, I started my career with the design engineering and then went into the system and process implementation and transformation. But when I came with this type of visionary people, then the entire thinking got changed. And that's why it becomes like whenever any disruption comes, whenever any waves or ride comes, we have to look those an opportunity and we have to see what else can be done. And then it is you can say there are burning opportunity that need to deal with, and their innovation comes where you have to bring perspective, you have to think differently, and then different type of solutions start coming. And then you will see here the AI companion, the battery swap, again, because we have to provide a seamless experience to user, then different type of mechanism coming. And even though Tata Technology was an integral part of even designing and helping in the battery swap technology for them, but even a small idea that if infrastructure is a problem or something that can bother users, then how those things can be handled. Then hyper personalization, live sentiment tracking, contextual assistance. At the same time, later on, even you will see in the slide that it's not about we have to focus on our product, our business. We have to be very open in terms of the problem statement definition, or thinking that, because we are not talking about a one user or a particular car, but we are talking about an ecosystem which is changing so dynamically and fast that even those small things can impact a lot on your product. And eventually, just I want to relate with this, because everyone will see that in 1960s, even if you have a 5 kilos of bulky head walkie-talkie, it was like innovative things. How even we can talk without even having a person face to face. But even today, the way we are having a smartphone, that is a necessity. So how and what type of innovation called as a real innovation and game changer and disruption at that particular time, or what becomes a necessity is a very dynamic, and it change, you can say, so fast based on all the things that changes around us. So with that in mindset, I would like to bring a perspective, and you will think that what we are talking about. So just imagine, because if something we have to do as a very innovative solutions or product for the future, how we have to start thinking, and not talking about any specific company or country, but in general, the humanity. So just imagine we all talking about that. One side, we are talking about the product, which is a new generation product. At the same time, we are talking about the smart city and smart nation. And by the way, we are also working and helping some countries and cities to really bring digital transformation in those areas. So if that type of advanced things we are talking about, then think what is in and around in our ecosystem, which is very dynamic. We are talking about the manufacturing plants, we are talking about service centers, the dealers, the ambulance, the smart home, and eventually if some accident happens, then how to handle those situations, the hospitals, the historical side. Even you will see understanding that when we drive at some place, how we will know that where we are driving, how we will even get attached with those places, and we will really feel the human feeling that we want to. And even the experience cannot be just brought in by having a super performance car, but there are other factors that you will understand later on. then the millennial and the next generation people, that their social event. So whole bunch of things in and around us is changing because the technology is changing. The way we deal with our life, and even from last 2 years, it's a completely game changing. No one can think about. That means we have to look how our product is going to be impacted by this in the positive sense, negative sense, and that gives a ample opportunity of innovation. So you are talking about a new age customer who is having the you can say it's the most powerful thing is the new technology in the pocket on the fingertip, and they want to experience and judge and react and feel comfortable, feel delighted every moment, every second, without non-stop. You can say there is no limitation that that person is where, whether he is working, whether it's driving, whether it's leisure, whether it's a work. And then we are talking about a vehicle, which is a car, which is two-wheeler or anything. Now, do we think that we can keep same way of thought process of developing a product for the future while your consumer is having the most powerful technology, which is changing at exponential rate? That means we will have permutation of combination of millions of ideas that we can bring in. And the moment you think, you can realize through your innovation a solution that could be a disruptive things. So this we have seen and realized that how things are happening. And whether it's 100 years old established OEM, whether it's automotive and aerospace, we are working with this company for digital transformation. I would rather say digital innovation, because when we say digital transformation, everybody else saying yes, we are doing technology, we are implementing tool, we are doing every bit of things because it's a buzzword. But how to bring innovation at the first place so that we can think what we want to do. We can think about how problem can be detailed down, and then we can bring our innovation in bringing the solution. Here you will see just a glimpse. I think everyone is aware about, but we are dealing this situation with this type of companies. In coming time, we feel that it is not going to the same type of business model where one is OEM, other is supplier, and then there is a consumer. And everyone is having power to build something that will be consumed. So you can say a scenario, an ecosystem where OEM and supplier will be interchangeable. For example, some of the EVs are thinking to be a supplier for their autonomous components. Some are thinking they're very unique, personalized feature that they can sell off the shelf to everybody, whoever is manufacturing the car. So you will see the left-hand side and right-hand side, how this mechanism and the established old business model is going to evolve over the period of time. And in this way, we have to be very, you can say, innovative and creative in even understanding what we are going to do and how we are going to handle. And one of the most important thing I feel that EV have done in the industry, that now other industry, be it aerospace, which runs completely in different way, or be it like medical industry, medical and life sciences, they are trying to learn from this company, because how you can do so quick, and it is a complete transformation of how we are going to serve our consumer. So that's the end of things that we wanted to share. And Selvan, happy to take any question on that, and definitely would like to hear Nishant view going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Saurabh. Indeed, it was quite a comprehensive but a very crisp set of slides that shared, what this journey is, right? And having spent about 20 plus years in the consumer behavior space, believe me, consumers are always happy to surprise us with their, and they are always thinking ahead of us, and you never underestimate a modern consumer. So I think we really want to keep pace with them as product development leaders like you and Nishant, as marketeers. As you put down those slides, my mind is racing, saying, "Hey, this is connected commute. How do I plug in brands within the ecosystem? How do I plug in, the sentiment, and if I can understand what he's feeling at that point in time, can I redirect him, because I have the opportunity to put a notification on his dashboard saying, hey, you're feeling a little low, you need to go and have a drink, or have a something feel good to eat. So I'm sure there is a lot of exciting things beyond the, as you say, it is, to my mind, it's commuting is going to be incidental. Getting from point A to point B is just going to be incidental, and there's a lot of experience that is going to come inside this conversation. Wonderful. So thank you so much once again for that. And I now request Nishant to share his perspectives on the electrical mobility space, and what is his outlook. He's in a different part of the world now. I'm sure he's going to give us a much more larger worldview of EVs and how it is adapted across. Nishant, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Paneer, for that. It was good to see Saurav's presentation, a different perspective altogether. So in my view, I always look at it from the point of view that why do we talk about EVs? It's good to talk about them, or everyone talks about it. That's why people talk about them. So one has to understand why are we here and what is leading to this. So there are multiple enablers which lead us to electric vehicles today. People talk about, and that's what all of us have experienced during COVID in the last year and a half, that health and environment have become extremely important for each one of us. And we have all understood the importance of health and environment, whether those who understood it earlier understand it even better today. And many people who ignored it, which is most of us, have understood how important it is and how essential it is. Keeping that in mind, we look at multiple zero emission technologies. So when you look at multiple zero emission technologies today, I would say in the mobility space, EV is one of the most promising zero emission technologies. And when we come there, we see that in the global context, just to say that if, let's say, 30% of the global cars and vehicles go EV, still the kind of enhancement in the power requirement would be only 7%. We would be knocking off about 1.2 million barrels of oil requirements on a daily basis. So I think that is what we are talking about here. And the kind of parity change which we are seeing from $1,000 10 years back to today, about 20-25% or 15% of that, depending on the application, is huge. And the other point is that perspective is not only around EV here. Perspective is that how are we able to build a well-to-wheel concept? In a well-to-wheel, we talk about the oil well to the vehicle wheel. So EV solves half of the problem, which is tank to wheel. And well to tank is solved by, just taking example of India, how we are embarking on a renewable energy journey with the green energy. So you generate green and you consume green. So from generation to consumption, you are mapping the whole stretch. That is most critical. So that is what we focus as an organization on, which is JBM Group. So we clearly see that how we are giving that well-to-wheel experience to every consumer and to every person here. And clearly in that, the whole ecosystem has to operate. No one company can do everything. So the EV ecosystem is really critical, whether it's OEMs like us, or we talk about battery or motor or charging infrastructure, with power infrastructure, or we see the ITS, intelligent transportation systems, other SaaS platforms, operation and maintenance, and the availability of consistent quality of power, the parking spaces, financial institutions who would be funding such kind of projects, and consumers we see have a lot of anxiety today, that what is the range anxiety, how the vehicles would perform, how would they be on the road. They don't want to use them for intercity traveling, that for longer durations, if I do not find a charger, how would I do, what would I do in that? Because there are a lot of questions, concerns, which are very actually relevant today. That is why EVs started, and even now predominantly are used for city transportation. And the most important part in case of electric vehicle is asset utilization, as well as the total cost of ownership. So when you look at such things, so you need to clearly understand that for doing this, technology has to drive value. So we do not talk about cheap products. Many places we see across the world that it's cheap, it's good. That's not what it should be. Competitiveness is the key, but that should be driven by technology. So technology has to drive value. And for this technology to drive value, all the key stakeholders, whether it's large corporates, it's MSMEs, it's startups, it's universities, all have to collaborate. Because the kind of frugality and agility we see in startups is not there in larger corporates. The kind of bandwidth and the focus they bring in it comes with the larger corporates. And somewhere in the middle are MSMEs, which are having a faster turnaround time and are able to work with the focus on certain sectors with their key strengths and certain competencies in place, which can drive the whole ecosystem. So I think that is most important. So each and every lever has to operate. So in this particular scenario, when I talk about total cost of ownership, the important part is that how we work on asset utilization. Then I divide the whole thing into two parts: personal mobility and the commercial mobility. In commercial mobility, we talk about buses, we have public transportation, we talk about three-wheelers, taxis, all such kind of vehicles. If I take example of buses, because 90% of public transportation and 90% of the people in India use bus in some form or the other in our country, which has the highest usage in different parts, in different ways. So there we see that every vehicle runs for about 200 to 250 kilometers in a day, which is a very high utilization. Vis-a-vis personal mobility, where an average is 30 to 50 kilometers a day when we're using such kind of a vehicle. So just to give you a perspective, with every electric bus, you save about 350,000 liters of diesel and 1,000 tons of CO2 in its lifetime, which is huge, which impacts our import bill in a huge way. And we become more self-reliant as a country if we are doing so. That's the intangible benefit of having electric vehicle, with the tangible benefit of the import bill. And now I'll come to the operating dynamics. When we see an electric vehicle going by, so clearly we see that the operating cost goes down substantially, because in such a vehicle, number of moving parts move about from about 1,800 to 2,000 moving parts come to double-digit moving parts. So the maintenance cost goes down to as low as 25% to 30%, so about 70 to 75% reduction in maintenance, because the whole system gets simplified. At the same time, when you are having batteries, so the battery packs are available to you for supporting, which in many parts of the world they're already doing. One is for the electric vehicles, which is grid to vehicle, like in California, in Europe, in multiple cities, they have gone from vehicle to grid. So the vehicles act as a backup for those grids and for stabilizing the grid as well. Because in different timings of the day, when the vehicles have to be charged, in peak hours, there is a huge consumption which is there across the board. But when you look at charging the vehicles during off-peak hours, whether at night or during the day as well, that enhances the grid stability, which is a big challenge in our country, which DISCOMs face and which other institutions are facing. So that acts as a very good backup and a stabilizer in that case. Thirdly, we also see that with such kind of vehicles, the level of noise, which we have, the NVH level in the vehicles, go down substantially. So today we are able to clearly see that all of us are used to certain noises and other things. So the kind of calmness, the kind of comfort which it brings to any passenger, because the idea is, with such kind of vehicles, how are we able to bring in safety? How are we able to bring in comfort? How are we able to bring in affordability? So even though the capex cost is higher upfront, which is subsidized to a large extent by the government, and now when that is converted into OPEX with the asset utilization, today itself with the government subsidies and other things, we are hitting parity. And in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll be doing that as well. But what is important here, like we embarked on a renewable energy journey in solar 10 years back. But till today, we haven't had a very high level of localization. I think now with PLI and many other things in the last couple of years, some part of it is getting localized, and in the future, we intend to go with larger level of localization. So when we miss the bus there, that should not happen here. So with the larger level of localization, it's important that the whole supply chain is put in place. And with the whole supply chain, I mean the startups, the MSMEs, and the larger corporates who are going to produce and localize these components. So what is essential here, that we are not looking at Make in India only. I think that is a challenge and a mistake we'd make if we look at only Make in India in case of EVs. It should be designed to delivery. So we need to design in India, we need to make in India. How companies are enabled to work on technology. So I think that is an area where different cities, different states, and the central government should incentivize companies to design and engineer products in the country. And India has always been different from the world. So whatever we do differently, because our demographic and geographic requirements, the population diversity is very different from the rest of the world. So there's no cut, copy, paste model. So we always do things in a manner which are customized based on our requirements. So developing technology in India, and we have a lot of good talent in our country with a bunch of engineers, really good software companies like TTL and many others who are working on such kind of solutions, and so much of bandwidth which we can put in place. And that is what the whole world is looking at. Countries like Israel, which did not have automotive industry and still don't have any manufacturing till date, have some of the best startups in the world, and they embarked on this journey just 5 to 7 years back. And last 5 to 7 years, they've developed one of the most exciting startups in the world, which are going places, which are becoming multiple unicorns are there in that country. Why can't we do that? And a setup like T-Hub and many others could actually incubate many such startups. And big corporates and OEMs like us definitely want to see how we can partner with such companies. We can co-create a lot of things. So that is a designing piece. Then the engineering piece is really seeing how we talk about cutting edge technology, energy density. We see that the latest focus on power electronics, we are seeing that how we can become the Foxconn of the world. So we produce in India, not only for India, but for the world. So we gain that scale. So gaining that scale is very essential. And then after that, we see that based on the customer requirements, how we are making products which are meeting the customer requirements, which are just not deploying global products in India. And that is the key. So whether it is in the commercial or the personal space. And clearly, those products should, as I shared earlier, safety, affordability, and comfort should be a key part of those products. That is of utmost importance. And clearly, those products should be having a long-term vision. And then we talk about what happens after the vehicle is there. And when banks are funding such kind of vehicles, what happens in that case? So we clearly see that there are today software applications, other things which companies like us use. So at any point in time, if any customer is not paying his EMI, if he's not paying his insurance, we can shut the vehicle down remotely for the players in the ecosystem. So that kind of comfort, that kind of systems have to be built in the whole thing. At the same time, since it's a very low maintenance vehicle, so the requirements of people going to for the maintenance and services would reduce substantially. Then we talk about the energy availability and other things. So public charging infrastructure, home charging infrastructure, office charging infrastructure, that is going to be very critical, which we are embarking on, and highway charging in a big way now. So all parts of the country, how that is going to get deployed. And that's where many companies and the cities are starting with the tier 1 cities or tier 2 cities, where there's a higher density of people, where they can have a higher asset utilization, as we spoke of earlier. So I think that is step 1. And then after that, we talk about that, okay, when the vehicle is wearing out, when the vehicle is going down after 5 or 10 years or 12 years, depending on the life cycle, what do we do with the battery? Because the battery life is 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. And there is a lot of hue and cry, which we see around it, that we are not talking about battery recycling today, and we'll be having a lot of toxic waste in that area. Whereas I don't see that as a challenge today, because when we talk about grid stability, when we talk about renewable energy, we need a lot of energy storage. And these batteries go to 80% level of DOD after 4, 5 years, 7 years in this case, and can be easily used as energy storage backup solutions for the next 10 to 15 years. So the problem needs to be addressed after 15 or 20 years from the day the vehicle starts. That is critical. But keeping that in mind, the battery should be designed in such ways that we are talking about the first life, we are talking about the second life very clearly, so that both can be clearly captured. And there is a business case when people talk, what would I do with the vehicle? So vehicle gets scrapped, the battery goes elsewhere, the power electronics go back and gets recycled to the system. So it's a very circular economy which we create. Simultaneously, the need arises for skilled manpower for this. So there's a lot of learning, unlearning, and relearning which will happen. Today, on one end, we have a dearth of people which are not getting employments, and there's a lot of unemployment. On the other end, the industry is dealing with the challenges of not getting the right set of people. So I think a lot of work is being done now, and a lot of focus is coming upon how can skill development be linked to employability and the requirements which the industry and such applications have, where people from automotive sector, from power sector, from railway sector, defense sectors, many other sectors who understand high voltage a bit, or even new inductions can happen across states in the country, which will create huge employment. And there's a huge requirement today. So I think that needs to be put across in a very positive manner, and seen that how such employment can be created and people can be made employable through such skill development activities, where industry, academia, and the skill development centers and the government can really collaborate and work together, along with even startups and MSMEs. Moving forward, what one has to clearly understand, how do you create demand? All of this would work, but you need scale and demand. So that is where policies like FAME 2 we have seen, there have been multiple changes now, ESL, CSL, where they accumulated demand for 50 million LED bulbs over a period of time, brought down the prices. And now they are trying to create demand for different cities, for two-wheelers, where the incentives have been increased substantially, for buses, where they have focused on 9 cities to start with. Now the PLI has come in on the battery part, and the automotive auto component sector has about 50,000, so about out of 200,000 crores, about 75,000 crores, which is a lion's share, comes to this sector with the battery and the automotive area. So I think we need to clearly see how this can be utilized. This is a lifetime opportunity for companies and startups across the country, which can work together and really deliver results here. So having a long-term roadmap of technology, of creating efficiency, how we are increasing energy density, and how we are able to not make for India, but make for the world is what is going to be important. And that is what will be driving scale and reducing cost and enabling companies to invest. So I think that is the whole ecosystem, which is very important. And in many countries, what they have done is also they have created mandates, where in mandates, they have seen that there are high density zones where only electric vehicles go, they do not have any fee, or in other parts of the country where parking is free, or they have mandated certain areas, certain religious spots, certain tourist spots with kinds of electric mobility, which gives them scale, even home delivery vehicles and many such other areas, and even public transportation. So I think that kind of a holistic view needs to be taken, and we as a country are moving in that right direction. So that is my view in brief on EV opportunities in India and the challenges which we face as a country.
Great. Thank you, Nishant. I think that was quite a comprehensive overview of the both the supply side as well as the